What happens when people begin questioning everything they thought they believed? A Great Awakening explores a moment in history where faith, conviction, and awakening helped shape a generation. And honestly, the theme feels more relevant than ever before. Today, joining me is Jonathan Blair from A Great Awakening. Actor, writer, speaks on his newest film. Enjoy. Hey, Jonathan.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. First of all, congratulations on this film.
Thank you.
Whew, it's a lot. It's a
Mm.
lot. But it is timely. So I appreciate I just there's so many things about this story. Um, so, A Great Awakening tells the story of an unlikely friendship. Let's start there.
Yeah,
During a moment of deep division and uncertainty. And I think that was the first thing that hit me. I saw, centuries ago, and I felt almost like, wow, we're kind of in that space right now. So
yeah.
it was so literally, it took me in the first 15 minutes. So the first question is, what drew you personally to George Whitefield, and why do you think that this story feels relevant right now? Because I know for me, I literally I had goosebumps throughout the film.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, I also had goosebumps the first time that I heard about who this man was. I'd heard his name growing up, but that's about
Yeah.
all I knew of him. And so the more I found out about him, the legendary, quality of his voice, the reach that it had, literally, physically, but also metaphorically, like 80% of the colonists heard him speak with their own ears in his lifetime. And he was the first unifying presence in the colonies back when every colony was sort of its own individual entity. He was the first person that all of them had in common with one another. Everyone, no matter where you were from, if you had seen Whitfield, you had something in common with someone from somewhere else. And the themes that he was proclaiming of liberty and the equality of men, all of these were seeds that he was scattering that later grew and mature into fruition in the revolution. Those ideals didn't just pop out of nowhere into their heads, and they decided, oh, we should be free. Those were percolating over a generation, and those were stoked by men like George Whitefield. So, just the more I found out about him, the fact that he was an actor, a poor kid who wanted to be an actor, and then found God at Oxford, and then was redirected into riding a horse essentially for 30 years.
And
Uh,
the resistance, because,
yes,
what he was preaching was not welcome, was not embraced early
right.
on.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a pioneer in open air preaching at a time where preaching was confined to the walls of a church by that established minister. Going outdoors and preaching to people who weren't official members of this church or that church was just unheard of. It was scandalous, but he didn't care. So, much like Jesus, he took the message to the least of these.
And I made that correlation, by the way, especially I don't want, I'm not going to give it away, but the scene with the rocks, the throwing
Yeah,
of the rocks,
yeah,
it was just that moment was sort of like it was a connection when I thought about Jesus and the resistance and
yes,
and I'm not exactly a religious person. I think I'm more spiritual,
sure.
but I it really did captivate me. And I could
Mm.
talk to you. I mean, this is not a 10-minute conversation, but I'm
Right.
gonna I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. So
Yeah.
one of the most powerful ideas, and there were so many throughout the film, is that true liberty begins in the heart, which whew, I'm telling you, goosebumps, goosebumps, before it even reaches society. Why do you
Yes.
think personal awakening and inner transformation are so important during times of cultural division and uncertainty, which we saw?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've said before, you can't enshrine into law, you can't make laws that will change people on the inside. You can't legislate inner change. It has to flow the other way around. Like it doesn't, it's not trickle down. It's percolating out and up. You know, once we're transformed inside by the true source of liberty, you know, which I believe is Jesus Christ, the personification of truth itself. Once you're awakened to that reality, you can't help but proclaim it, and you can't help but be transformed and to live in the light of that reality that everything has already been done for you. All you have to do is trust in that name, and there's nothing you have to do, there's nothing you have to struggle or strive for. Man, if we really believe that, then that should light a fire under us. And that naturally affects the way we live. And the thing that so enraged Whitefield was these men who pro pretend, you know, to believe these things or claim to believe these things, but they aren't living any differently than people who don't believe it. It's like, well, what's the point? You know, you're holding dynamite in your hands and you're just sort of like being so casual about it. Anyways, I could go on, but
I know. So, there was like I said, there was so many pieces of the film that just were really, I'm going through, so long story short, I had an awakening years ago, and I started this platform.
wow.
So it lit a fire. And I thought, okay, I had one awakening. I'm done. So
Yeah.
apparently, we don't have one awakening. We have we can have many throughout our lifetimes. So
Yes.
this film for me comes at a time where I'm having a different type of awakening. And one
Wow.
of so it's just it's timely in so many different ways for me. So I want to thank you for that. But I
Wow.
don't want to I don't want to let you go without sort of bringing this up. This friendship
Yeah.
between, Ben Franklin and George,
Hmm.
two people, I have to bring this up. Very different beliefs. And we have a lot of that going on today,
Yeah.
who still found respect, friendship, and common purpose, which I
Yes.
love seeing on screen. Do you think we've lost some of that ability to truly listen to each other today? And I think that's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. 100%. I've said this too. Like I think we've lost all sense of nuance in discussion. Like if something isn't exactly what I think it is, then it's wrong, you know, or vice versa. We've lost the perception that two opposing things can both be true, you know, and vice versa, you know. So yeah, I pray that we as a society come back to the art of disagreement and discussion and discourse through love and respect.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself. So one of the things that I do is I collect quotes, and I
Okay.
heard it throughout the film, and I remember my mom would say, I lost my mom 3 years ago, and that's when I went through this other awakening.
Wow.
One of the quotes, and she said it in her own way, she was Dominican, one one tiny candle illuminates 1,000.
Yeah.
How do you honor that in your daily life?
Hmm. Wow. What a great question. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think I do as much as I should, you know? Like
Well,
we,
I'm gonna disagree.
okay.
You share your gift and you share these stories, and I think that is one way to light all those little candles. You did
Well,
it for me.
thank you. That's really humbling to hear, and I really appreciate that. I suppose, yeah, that would be my answer is just through the stories that we try to tell. You know, that's you never know where it will go, what spark will ignite where. And so you're just sort of, or seeds, you know, which ones will grow. You're just sort of broadcasting them. And it's not really up to you where they go or who receives it. Your job is just to do the sowing, you know? So I really appreciate your feedback, your experience on that. That's
Well,
why we do it. That's why we make these films.
100%. And that's, I watched it at 9 a.m. and it opened up my day in a way that I can't explain to you. My heart felt open. So
Wow.
that was my gift from you. But before we wrap, because I really want to dig deep, but I can't. I want to leave our audience with a gift. Has there a gift from you to us? Has there been a moment in your life where you've experienced your own personal awakening, a shift that changed how you saw yourself, how you saw the world, your purpose or direction in your life? Because, like I said, for me, it was beginning this platform. And funny enough, when I
Wow.
first started the platform, it's it's so weird. It was called Awakened Woman. And that's
Wow.
why the podcast is called AW Confidential, because it
Wow.
was an awakened woman who decided to speak from a space of freedom as opposed to, the secrets and the confidential,
Yeah.
the taboos. And I'm sort of in that space. And so when I got this opportunity, I say, wow, there are no coincidences, Jonathan, no
No,
coincidences.
I totally agree. And like you said, I feel like there are multiple awakenings. If we're open to it, it's an ongoing process. It's not a destination. You haven't arrived. You're always in transit. And I think for me, I mean, making this film, I wanted it to be good and meaningful, but I had no idea what it would do, really. You never do. And just hearing all of the response that I believe the Lord has orchestrated through it, he's demonstrating in real time to me that he's still moving and he's still seeking people and he's still knocking and he's still the same God that he always has been. And if these people 300 years ago didn't know they were living in a time of a great awakening, will we recognize it? Why couldn't it happen again?
Well, I can tell you that I am in that space,
Hmm.
and I had a lot of goosebumps. And as you are sharing your message with me, my heart is open and my eyes are really watery because I'm trying to keep it together. So
Hmm.
thank you for this film. I think we need it. I think we need it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your time. Bye.
God bless you.
And that was Jonathan Blair from A Great Awakening. Sometimes change doesn't begin out in the world. Sometimes it begins quietly within us, in what we question, what we believe, and what we choose to awaken to. If this conversation resonated, please be sure to follow and share. Until next time, this is AW Confidential, where truth awakens.